not expected to express my opinion so that one does not disrespect the court.
On the petition issued by Peter Obi, this is Mr. Femi Falana's opinion, which he expressed on Section 134 of the Constitution, which says the presidential winner must meet certain requirements.
As stipulated and enshrined in the Section 134 of the Constitution, the spread and the issue of the 2/3 required in 24 states, which is 2/3 of the 25% in 2/3 of the state, which is 24 plus the FCT as stipulated by the law. Let's get some insight, please, with a prominent Nigerian senior lawyer, Mr. Femi Falana, senior advocate of Nigeria, who is live with us virtually. It's good to see you, Mr. Falana. Thank you so much indeed for your time tonight. What a time it is in our political history. Our elections have been debated, and issues coming out of this election are also being heavily debated. I know you are a reputable lawyer in the land, and I know that you know the rules guiding substantial cases before the court, and I know you might not want to delve into those matters, but without having to touch on the meat of the petitions before the Presidential Election Tribunal, there's been a lot of controversy. Can you please give some kind of explanation and some kind of explainer on what has divided many Nigerians on the issue of the Section 134 of the Constitution in just simple terms, without delving into the meat of what is before the court?
Well, I had expressed an opinion on Section 134 of the Constitution on the 23rd of January this year. That's about a month before the presidential election. On that occasion, I expressed a legal opinion. And that was why I was very hesitant to join the bandwagon when lawyers started giving political interpretation of that section. My position this year, in January this year, and I think it was my respected colleague Olisa Agbakova that expressed concern and drew the attention of the INEC to Section 134 of the Constitution, and that it might create some problem. And on that occasion, through your medium, I did state that there is no electoral college in Nigeria, and therefore the votes cast, or recorded in any part of are equal. Section 134 of the Constitution specifically requires a winner of a presidential election to meet certain requirements. The first one is to score the majority of lawful votes, and the second one is the territorial spread. 2/3 majority of the states and the Federal Capital Territory. And since the Federal Capital Territory has been interpreted to be the 37th state in Nigeria for the purpose of the Constitution, I didn't see any controversy at the material time, and that was when I expressed my opinion. But now that it has become a serious legal issue, and the matter is now pending in court, I'm very, very reluctant to speak definitively on this section, because there are decisions of our court on the status of Abuja, 2 judgments of the Court of Appeal and the Supreme Court. there is also the judgment of the Supreme Court on the quality of votes recorded in every state in the country. And so since these decisions are available to all lawyers in Nigeria, to all my colleagues, I would have expected the debate to be anchored on decided cases, particularly by the Court of Appeal and the Supreme Court. Again, what I said, since the matter is pending in the Court of Appeal already, it has been raised in some of the petitions. To that extent, I'm not expected to express my opinion so that one does not disrespect the court. But as I did say, I'd expressed an opinion when the election had not held, a month to the presidential election. And I stand by my position, which is that Abuja has been interpreted to be the 37th state in it. I can't go beyond that for now, Shane.
I know you can. For it's been a lot of controversies, and there's been a lot of division along party lines on the interpretation. Some will say, "Oh, it comes interpreted." Some say, "No, it has been decided by our court." Of course, Section 134. For those who do not have their constitution very close, let me state just concisely what the lawyer, Mr. Falana, just stated now. And because Mr. Falana doesn't want to go deeper into it, you might as well just go onto Channel's YouTube page, and that's channelcvweb.com, and you can also find out for yourself what Mr. Falana has said earlier. We are not lawbreakers. We do not want to touch on what the courts are going to be deliberating on. Highest number of votes, and of course, spread to 25% into third of the state of the federation, plus the AFCT. We'll be hoping and looking forward to what the court will decide on this matter. Perhaps we'll lay that to rest if there's anything that happen. And so, Mr. Falana, I'm not sure a lot of people imagined that the 1979 scenario could play out. For some people have said, this is looking like, it may not be exactly like this. Did you envision that this election might be, for example, we had perhaps the lowest percentage of votes that have been won by anybody that has been declared as president-elect in this country in this election? Did you ever thought that this election was going to turn out like this?
Well, having regards to our experience in the past, and once it was clear that there were more than two strong candidates at the embassy, that we might have this kind of scenario. But there are people who are suspected that we might be having a second or rerun election for those who are the fear that a clear winner might not emerge. So there's nothing that has happened, to be honest with you, that can be said to be straight. Elections in Nigeria since 1999, we've had over-bloated figures. And since 1999, what to call voter apathy might not capture the problem. We may now begin to interrogate the figures that are recorded, the figures, the number of people registered to vote. A friend was telling me there were in his own area, in one of the states, up to 2019, the least votes from some riverine area will be in the neighborhood of at least 130,000. But this time around, it's barely 5,000. Because you have to be captured by the beavers machine before you can be said to have voted. So whereas about 93 people registered to vote, and were told that 87 million collected their PVC. In a place like Lagos, 6.2 million people collected their PVC. But at the end of the day, the presidential election attracted only 1.2 million. So those figures that were recorded in the past for majority of the states have been taken away by the beavers machine. And that is why the number has gone down. Yes, you might have recorded voter apathy in a number of states. But in terms of the presidential election, where it was reported by the media that there was a large turnout, at the end of the day, we're talking of barely 25 million voters. So it is high time, the media, began to examine these figures. And that's my position.
All right. So
I'm not in any way taken aback.
Yeah.
Because I have an idea of how some of these figures are generated. And at the end of the day, the number of voters that really show up does not usually add up.
All right, let's go.
Our elections have always ended in tribunals. And that was why I had once described what goes on in Nigeria as tribunalization of democracy. Increasing involvement of our court in elections it does not happen anywhere in the world. For instance, we had 1,200 pre-election cases, 600 appeals in the Court of Appeal, and about 120 in the Supreme Court. Now, election petitions are being filed. 400 judges, 7 judges have been invited to participate in election petition, to hear election petition cases. And for the next 6 months, the cases in those courts, the cases in the courts manned by those judges will have to be adjourned. Very soon, appeals will arise from the election petition tribunal. Again, appeals in other matters are going to suffer, including matters that have to do with the liberty of citizens. So many Nigerians are complaining now. Why should you have courts that are saddled with the responsibility of hearing only election petition and appeals arising from them? So it requires perhaps a review of the suggestion that one had made before now. We have a pool of retired judges. Why don't we invite them?
I know you all have something to say on this, and we would like to hear your view on this matter. Leave your comments down in the comment box. This is Edu TV Nigeria.